اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين سيدنا الممجد بشير المصدق المصطفى الأمجد محمود الأحمد أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين ولعن الله على الظالمين من الأولين والآخرين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون. صلوات
اللهم صل على
محمد. My respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before I begin, I would like to take this opportunity firstly to pass my thanks on to the organizing committee for inviting us, also to Sheikh Abu Jaffer for allowing us to speak this evening. We know that this is really his platform and it's only through his humility that he's allowing us to speak. The verse in which we have recited comes from Sura Al Imram, verse number 92 of the Holy Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts forward one of the most important and interesting spiritual discussions. The discussion at hand is particularly related to the month in which we are blessed with, and also in regards to the attributes, the characteristics, the beautiful personality that is Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullah wassalamu alayhi. And therefore the reason why we have chosen this verse to discuss this evening, because it truly encapsulates what we are trying to achieve during this spiritual month, and also because of the grand personality whom we have been commemorating over these last few nights. The verse as we recited in the Arabic khutbah says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. Please listen to the translation, and as you hear it, begin to perceive how it affects you. Whether you've heard this verse before, whether you find it applicable to you, and whether you have actually seen it applied in your life in front of you. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. You will by no means achieve a station of righteousness until you give out of that which you love. Let me just repeat the verse, and please ponder as to how applicable this verse is to you. You will by no means, let's look at the statement by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is negating our opportunity. You will by no means achieve a station of righteousness until you give out of that which you love. And therefore this verse, as we stated, is particularly spiritual. It holds significance in regards to the character of the commander of the faithful, and also the time of the month that we are blessed within. Therefore, when we look at the verse, we need to look at the verse firstly in terms of the Arabic context. How is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has presented this verse to us by the use of the Arabic language? We started this point because we need to understand how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to present the words to us. You see, often when we see something in translation, whether I translate it into English, or even if I was to translate it into another language, even be it Urdu, no matter how poetic it is, we still have to realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is desirous of a particular message within the wording. And therefore the translation may say one thing, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is desirous of putting across a particular message. Therefore, let us look at the Arabic wording that is given to us. لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. You will by no means achieve this station of righteousness until you give out of that which you love. Now the first word that we want to analyze is this word al-birr. لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ. You will not reach a station of righteousness. Now here the word birr has a deeper level of connotation than just the word righteousness. To understand what we mean by a deeper level, you find the Arabic language often has two words for the same thing, but one word has a face value meaning and one word has a deeper level of meaning. Let me give you an example. When we recite Dua Iftitah, we find that there's a particular set of words that are next to each other, but they are repeated. In the English language, when you translate them, they mean exactly the same thing. But in the Arabic language, they mean two separate things. For example, at the end of Dua Iftitah, we recite a small dua. We say, Ilahi waqafa as-sa'iluna bibabik. My Lord, Ilahi waqafa as-sa'iluna bibabik. My Lord, this beggar is standing at your door. Even that in itself is a powerful beginning to a dua. Ilahi waqafa as-sa'iluna bibabik. Walada al-fuqara'u bijinabik. ووقفت سفينة المساكين على ساحل بحر جودك وكرمك. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through two of His asma. We ask through Jawad and Kareem. Jud wal Karam. Why is it that we ask through these two particular asma of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What do they mean? When you normally see these translated into English, Jawad means what? Someone who is generous. Yes, we often have this characteristic. We hear that someone who is Jud, someone who is the character of Al-Jawad, they are generous. But in Arabic again, there is the word Kareem also been used. Jud wa Karam. In Arabic language, translated into English, Kareem also means generous. Why now would Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wasalam provide us with two words that mean exactly the same thing? They don't mean exactly the same thing. In English, they mean exactly the same thing. However, in Arabic, there's a slightly different connotation to it. The word Jawad means generous. Therefore, when I knock at the door of Al-Jawad, he gives when I ask him. But when I knock at the door of Al-Kareem doesn't just mean generous. It means so generous that you never have to ask anything more from him. It's like I've knocked at his door and he doesn't say, here's £10, come again tomorrow. He says, there's £1,000, you'll never need to come back again. This is the difference between Al-Jawad and Al-Kareem. Therefore, Arabic language is deeper than the normal languages. Therefore, we go back to the verse. لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. You will by no means achieve this station of righteousness. What righteousness is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaking of? What station is righteousness? Is it higher than taqwa? Is it lower than taqwa? Is it like khair? Is it different to khair? Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala use the word birr in this particular verse? Therefore, to understand it, we have to know the root word. Where does birr come from? Birr in the Arabic language comes from the word al-bar. Al-bar literally means land. When you say land, what kind of land? It means a very vast, very expansive land. So vast, such a big land that if you were to stand right in the middle of that land, you would not be able to see the horizon from the other side. You wouldn't be able to see the ocean. Imagine you stand in the middle of the United States of America, right in the middle. How many thousands of miles is it east to the sea? And how many thousands of miles west is it to the sea? That's the word bar. The language means the land that is so wide and so expansive. It covers all the different types of land within it. It covers the land that is very beautiful. It covers the land that is very hilly. It covers the land that's very ripe and produces a lot. That's the word al-bar. Therefore, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word birr, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ, you will not achieve this station of righteousness. The word al-birr comes from bar, meaning a very wide station of righteousness. an all-encompassing station of righteousness that covers every aspect of the heart, the mind, the soul, the body. Every aspect is covered within the goodness of righteousness. Therefore, the difference between al-birr and khayr. Khayr means good. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have said in the verse, you will not reach a station of goodness. But He didn't say that. He said, you will not achieve a station of righteousness. What's the difference between khayr and birr? The difference is khayr is something that is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to everyone. Shia, Sunni, Wahhabi, devil worshipper, Jew, Christian, Hindu, whatever human being you are, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you khayr, eminent khayr. He gives goodness to everyone. However, birr is a high station way beyond khayr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't give this to anyone. You have to go out and achieve that level of station. You have to work at it. You have to earn it. You have to refine the soul. Having done that, that's when you achieve the station of birr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses this word, al-birr, because He wants us to be desirous of reaching that station. Having put it in the Holy Quran, He doesn't want us to overlook it. He doesn't want us just to say, yes, the word birr is there, khair, and we move on. No. He says, now we've understood the rank of al-birr, how high someone is when they reach this pure station of righteousness. You should be desirous of getting there. It should be your goal. You should only want to die having reached the station of righteousness. Now, imagine the station of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Imagine when a man doesn't just say, I have achieved righteousness. When he's blown on the head, what happens? He says, Fustu wa Rabbil Kaaba. I have achieved the highest of station. Not only have I prospered, I have won. I am the master of the masters. Here's the difference. We can reach here, but Ali ibn Abi Talib reaches there. Now, when we hear that we are there to reach the station of righteousness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presents it in Quran. He demands it. He says, you reach it. It's there for you. Be desirous of it. Work at it. Reach it. Now it's in my heart. Now I want it. Now I've heard. Now I know the station of righteousness. Look at the context. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says there's a but. لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. Now you want to reach this high station. You will never reach the station of righteousness until you do something. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, look, you know there's the station. You know what you should be achieving in life. Now you have to do one thing and one thing only to reach this station. You will not achieve this station of righteousness until you spend, until you give out of that which you love most. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now addressing the means of charity. He's addressing our understanding of charity. He's addressing how we actually give charity to one another. You see, many a times, we give charity. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, it's good. The question I want us to ponder over, and the question I want you to take home with you tonight is, what kind of charity do I give? Do I give the charity that is most dear to my heart? Or do I give the charity that is easy for me to give? Just think about it for 1 second. When's the last time you gave charity? It possibly was in the month of Shahr Ramadan, because this is the night where everything is elevated. But when I gave that charity, was it easy for me to give, or was it a struggle for me to give it? Does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only desire that I give what's easy, or does He say give out of those things that are closest to you, the things that you mean most to you? The question is, why did this verse descend? What was the reason for this verse coming to us? According to Allama Tabatabai, Allah bless his soul, the great Allama says to us that this verse is addressing Banu Israel and the people of Banu Israel. Now, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to paint everyone with one brush. However, of course, we know there are many people of Banu Israel that are very trade orientated. So what happens is, you find that the people of Banu Israel, they would often give charity. But they would only give charity from what was easy to them. They would